Good morning. Welcome to Reading the Science of Mind in 1 Year. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader of the Center for Spiritual Living, Common Ground in Central Maryland. Today is April 22nd. And so, what we do here, in case you're new, is we listen to a reading of today's selection, share perspectives that come up in the moment. It's not uh, pre planned, premeditated, even. It's just listening to what comes alive in the moment. And then we do a brief 5-minute meditative practice. Um, and then we close out with what is known as a spiritual mind treatment, also known as an affirmative prayer. So let's get started. Here we go.
Reading for April 22nd, Science of Mind, A Philosophy of Faith, A Way of Life by Ernest Holmes. Reading from page 166, paragraph 4, through page 168, paragraph 2, using inclusive language.
Treatment not explained in the Bible. From the beginning to end, in one way or another, the Bible teaches the law of cause and effect, based upon the premise that the universe is a spiritual system, that people are included in this spiritual system, that the infinite creates by the power of its word or the contemplation of its consciousness, and, as a complement to this, that people reproduce the universe on an individual scale. The Bible does not tell us how to give a treatment. It is only within the last 100 years that the science which we are studying has been given to the world. It is not an old system of thought. The old systems of thought did contain the truth, but one would never learn how to give an effective mental treatment by studying them. We would no more learn how to give a treatment by studying the Bible than we would learn how to psychoanalyze a person. The principle of spiritual treatment is implied in the Bible as well as in other sacred writings of antiquity, but one could not learn how to give a treatment from reading any of these sacred books. From all of these sources, we gain a tremendous spiritual inspiration, but they do not teach how to give a treatment. What is a practitioner? One who attempts to heal themselves or another through a recognition of the creative power of mind and the ever availability of good is a mental and spiritual practitioner. Such a one refuses to allow negative thoughts to control their consciousness. They endeavor to greet the divinity in every person they meet. The one seeking to demonstrate the power of spiritual realization in everyday affairs should believe in divine guidance. They should affirm that their mind is continually impressed with the images of right action, and that everything in their life is controlled by love, harmony, and peace, and that everything they do prospers, and that the eternal energy back of all things animates everything they undertake. Every objective evidence contrary to good should be resolutely denied, and in its place should come a sense of right action. They should feel a unity of spirit in all people and running through all events. They should declare that the spirit within them is God, quickening into right action everything they touch, bringing the best of all their experiences, forever guiding and sustaining. The greatest good which their mind is able to conceive should be affirmed as a part of their everyday experience. No matter what the occupation of such a person, they are a mental and spiritual practitioner, and from such daily meditation they should venture forth into a life of action, with the will to do, the determination to be, and the joy in becoming. The professional, mental, and spiritual practitioner is one who has dedicated their life, their time, their energies, their intelligence to helping others through mental and spiritual means and methods.
Okay, so yesterday we talked a little bit about what treatment is, and today it's talking about a little bit about the history of where that came from. It's interesting to me that it's primarily couched in where it didn't come from. Um, I'm not the author, and we get to in my world we get to argue with Ernest. I oftentimes imagine that he's still here, and he and I have some lively conversations. I think the meat of today's reading is really in this part about what is a practitioner. Um, and I'm going to start at the end and work my way back, where no matter what the occupation, no matter what the occupation of such a person, they are a mental and spiritual practitioner. And for such daily meditation, they should venture forth into a life of action with the will to do, the determination to be, and a joy in becoming. You don't have to have a license to do that. The licensed practitioner is just a different layer of study, a different commitment. Um, but anyone who practices science of mind is a practitioner. Anyone who practices spirituality is a practitioner. Um, you get to choose what you're a practitioner of and how you practice. Um, I was most moved by a couple of sentences on page 167. In the first paragraph, under what is a practitioner, the last sentence, they endeavor to greet the divinity in every person they meet. There's a difference between endeavoring to see it and endeavoring to greet it. Greet, seeing something is a passive term. Greet that something is an active term. And so we're being invited to greet the divinity in everyone we see, to engage with it. And the other sentence that really jumped out at me is the second sentence in the second paragraph under what is a practitioner. They should affirm that their mind is continually impressed with the images. Right? So let's just stop there before we get to the specifics. That our mind, to affirm, to continuously state, to continuously claim that our mind is impressed, not impressed as in you impressed me, but impressed as in an impression of, right? A stamp of images of right action, and that everything in our life is controlled by. And here's the list: love, harmony, and peace. Notice we're not on the list, right? That everything in our lives is controlled by love, harmony, and peace, not by ourselves, not by exerting power over, but that everything in our life is controlled by love, harmony, and peace. And that everything we do prospers. Now, my experience of us as human beings is that we get our attention gets diverted looking for things to do to make us prosperous. That's not what this says. This says to imagine to have the impress, to have the mold, the idea stamped in our mind that everything we do prospers. It puts the responsibility back on us, not to be prosperous, but to believe that everything we do is prosperous. What's coming to mind in this moment is to claim our Midas touch, to use a story, to claim that everything we do, everything we touch turns to gold. Not literally, but that everything prospers. To own our abundance as part of our nature, part of our beingness, and stop looking for something that will make that real and start owning that it is real because it is us, and to hold that impress that everything we do prospers, and that the eternal energy, life itself, consciousness itself, back of all things, animates everything we do. And for me, that speaks to understanding that consciousness is the actor in and through and as us, that we are an animation of it, right? That this whole humanity is creation's greatest anime convention. And for me, that's just a fun, light way to look at it, that we are all animations of it. We are all characters of it. And so we're always in its presence. And we get to greet that presence everywhere we go. We get to know that peace and love and serenity and happiness and calm and brilliance is in control, not us. And let that inform us that everything we do prospers the moment we believe it. So let's take that into our time of meditation. One, one, one breath, one life, one substance, consciousness itself, energy, pure potentiality, eternal, everywhere existent, self-existent, one, nameless, changeless, limitless, one. And yet, I know it by many, many names. The great mystery, Christ consciousness, God, Buddha, Allah. By whatever name I know it, it is that and so much more. And it is diversity. It is one expressing in multiplicity, animating itself in form as the intentional, one of a kind, never to be repeated ideas of itself, desires of itself to experience itself as each idea that it manifests in form, fully infusing its animations with itself, because that's all there is. It can't make it out of anything other than itself. So I know that I am made of it. And so the substance of creation is the substance of me. The activity of creation, that creative process, is the creative process within me. Always active, always in operation. That creation is continuous. That there is no off switch. And so, what is true of me is true of all in this one. Each and every one made from the substance that is creation, animating itself as their individualized expression of it. And so, knowing that each and every animation of it is a center of its expression, I claim and affirm awareness. Awareness that recognizes the divinity, that recognizes the self everywhere it looks, everything it sees, everything it hears, and beyond the simple recognition that we each engage in the activity of greeting the infinite, greeting the perfection, greeting the truth of being within each other. In every interaction, in every exchange, that we are anchored in the reality that God is talking to God, that Christ consciousness is engaging with Christ consciousness, that the self is experiencing the self. To see only that perfection within one another, setting in motion that impress, that stamp, that everything is being controlled by peace, joy, harmony. The harmonious operation of one. I claim it as the activity of humanity. And I know that as I speak that word, it is instantly acted upon by the doer within this creative process called law. And that the action of making that our experience on planet Earth, that everything unlike that must come to the surface to be reconciled. And so I celebrate the discord of cleansing. I celebrate the disruption as the inside, as the truth of being, as the core expands, pushing everything that is not it out. I celebrate. And I am grateful. I feel the gratitude, the acknowledgement that it is already done. No longer fooled by, I will be grateful when, I will be grateful if. I am grateful now because I know that it is done now, that all things are done now, that now is all there is. And so I am grateful now for the wholeness of life, grateful for the harmonious operation of one, grateful that it is being made manifest in the mind and heart and lives of every animation of the substance of creation. Grateful. And so I let go, being firmly planted, firmly anchored in the completeness. I let go. I let go of all of the doubt. I let go of all of the fear. I let go of all that human conditioning that would in any way restrict a full experience of the Word made manifest. I claim it as my own. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amin. Amen. And so it is. Namaste, beloveds.